luckily I usually just get it on. Or if we have a demonstration, I'll put it over there and I don't remind them to do that. So.
I've got an idea with some money. We could hang little signs on our shirts while we're sitting.
Could you please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Flags back there.
Nobody ever likes me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Recognition of visitors, Richard?
I have some information I think Mr. Hill already knows about. I just talked to him. And the people in Randolph, in our area, is called Randolph Township. There will be an issue on November 6th of this year, issue 33, so they got the issues already out. It's called Proposed Limited Home Rule Government, which would be looking into it for Randolph. And if this thing passes, they had to get 10% of the voters that voted, I think, within the last election, which they did get. So now it goes on ballot. Township people in Randolph will vote on this, and if it passes, they have to put a home rule on, which was what I was explaining, was like a 5-mil levy. And in our levy right now around 5 mil this year. But it won't be this year, it'll be right at the next election. There's something to, Mr. Hill already went to the meeting, I think. What it goes back to, our local government in Randolph has no control over the fracking, what they're doing in these gas wells. I heard a program today, Stable Ohio, it's already cut and dry, and they're not going to stop it. A lot of people becoming very well with that. The next thing is electrical rates. And I think we already, all schools get a energy discount.
Well, schools that participated in the House Bill 264 program, things of that nature, that went through and did energy updates qualify for this. And that's the $50,000 we got last year. Now that's one rebate. Now if there's another rebate which you're talking about.
This is for residential owners. I got these things that was AEP. I looked into it, did a lot of research in fall, and they cut my rates. This is Edison, Illuminate coming to Edison, 13%. I just wondered if they offered that to the school systems or if they're already on some kind of a program.
We're in a consortium with Ohio School Council. Right. We're under energy.
But it amazed me though that they're offering it's like gas rate. You can homeowners can get a gas rate to get natural gas. Here on my bill, I looked at my bill, I would have saved like $10 per month for a period. You know, some months in the air conditioning on would be maybe 10 of that thing. So it's something to look into. I just wondered if our school system was aware of that, but they probably do already have a discount.
Rick, the consortium, and correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, but the consortium, what it does is it constantly looks for that kind of stuff, rates, dropping rates, and that way, if you're in that, they do all that research constantly for us and the other schools that are in it, and then they get the lowest rate and they work on that. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, they work on our behalf, on behalf of school districts to get the best prices out for us.
So I got a confirmation letter. My next meter reading will go this thing will affect. I told some people they already got on to something else they sent to the homeowner. One was my brother. He saved like $1. I said, you may get on the same one I did. I called around, got on. Okay, the third thing, I don't know how many Portage County people received it from Janet Esposito on reappraisal. In 2012, county-wide reappraisals of Portage County. They come around and reappraise everybody's home. And a lot of people's went down. Mine went down 10,000. The question I have, if you look at your tax statement, the money goes to the school system. On this county general, school, children's services. And I think Andy Urchek answered that question when he was here. Even if you put more homes in a area for a township, your millage that goes to the school stays the same, But if it's dropping $10,000 a mine, I heard talking to somebody else today, theirs dropped $15,000. Does the school receive the same amount of money, or do they take a cut?
So my understanding, we should receive the same amount of money.
That's what Andy was always talking about, they don't get no more, no less.
Right.
It's the millage that goes to the.
We collect the amount of money that was originally passed when it was voted.
So even though, now who gets cut on that then, the county? There's like 4, mental health, township, children's services, PD, school, and county general. Well, somebody's got to take the cut.
I'd have to look at, specific tax bills on the Jan Esposito.
But I don't know if he was aware of this thing was sent out.
I know they updated the values, however, Jan Esposito's office doesn't have those collected yet to give them to the school district for Atwater and Randolph. It's
Does-
in whole.
Does the school system in the city of Ohio, do they pay a tax?
No,
No.
the tax exempt.
That's all I have, just some general information I put into.
Thank you. Okay, John, you gonna talk? Or you just signed in because you thought you were supposed to? Oh, Ash?
I'm Ashley Brown, I'm the Vice President of the Community Action Committee, and I just wanted to let everybody know we have our first meeting of the year on next Tuesday, the 18th at 7 o'clock, right here. We're going to talk about pretty much what we're going to do to help get the levy passed, and some other fundraising things for other things.
Thank you. Tuesday,
Ashley, what time did you say?
Tuesday, September 18th at 7 p.m. is a meeting for the Community Action Committee. All right, roll call.
Terry? Whittlesey?
Here.
Gump?
Here.
Fletcher?
Here.
Jones? Here.
Meeting is called to order. Okay, under the president's report, the one thing I had, we get this briefcase update from the Ohio School Board Association. And they had in here, and you might be talking about this later, but they talked about, we've always talked about what we can do to get more people to come out to listen to us and talk about the state of the schools. And when we have these meetings, I think the most we've ever had is about 70 people. So this one is, they're suggesting having a breakfast. So, well, we've never tried that, so that was something I thought you guys can, if you want to do it, or if we want to do a levy committee or whatever, but it was just something different, so I thought, well, you never know, maybe morning time's a better time than night time, so.
Is that the, yeah.
What's that?
Very true.
I've seen what you do to spaghetti, I'd love to see what you do.
Yeah, we're not letting Andy cook anything,
That
but
was the smartest decision I ever made to her, doesn't it? Because no one will ever ask me.
you did not do that on purpose. But he can't cook spaghetti.
Is that the latest?
Don't ever ask.
Is that the latest edition?
This is the August 27th one. So no, I think the latest one,
August 27th.
this is the one before the latest one. Yeah. So, yeah, but I just thought that, they also talked about how to connect with your parents more, and we've done everything that they're telling us to do, so I don't know what more we can do, but that was, I went through the whole list, and there wasn't anything on there we haven't done or tried, so. Anyway, okay, superintendent's report.
Yeah, so a couple different things here. One, I wanted to follow up on Rick's first thing with home rule, just to clarify a couple of things. I went to a meeting, Kathleen Clyde did that listening tour, and she did one in Randolph, and I know Ken went over to the one in Atwater. I was at the one in Randolph. And there seems to be, I no means would claim to be an expert on this, but I think the township is trying to work through the details so they can get facts out, but there seems to be some confusion with what home rule will actually do. Kathleen Clyde was pretty adamant that day that she was at that meeting that home rule will not have any effect whatsoever on the township's ability to stop fracking. That that's a state level law that's in effect. But the interesting thing is the township officials and we're talking about the fact that if they do go to home rule, and this is why Rick's talking about this 5 mil levy, if they go to home rule, that they would then be required to provide a legal counsel for the township and police protection. And those would no longer necessarily be free through the county prosecutor and sheriff department like they are now. So apparently, I haven't seen that, but apparently what Rick's sharing is they're estimating that the cost to do that, if they end up being under home rule, would take a 5 mil levy to be able to pay those expenses. So like I said, there seems to be some confusion. Sandra Engel, who was at that meeting, and is actively involved in the home rule issue with her husband, from what I understand. She seemed to have different information that she was presenting. So I think they're trying to work through where all of that lies, but they did get enough signatures to be able to do a grassroots effort and put it on as an item for the November levy. So,
How does it have to do with fracking?
well, home rule supposedly gives townships more ability to determine different things that happen. The problem is that, and I don't recall what law it is, but Kathleen Clyde said that there was a law back in, I want to say it was the mid-90s, that is actually the one that took away local control over issues like fracking. And that absent a change to that law, it doesn't matter what type of leadership model the townships are under. So that was her take that day when I was at the meeting. So that's just a little bit more of what I know. I don't, by far, don't know all the facts, but I trust that the trustees will be doing their best to get facts out there to the community before the election.
Yeah, question, can you go out on the residents before you secure the grandfather, not Waterloo grandfather? Just that we have like 5,000 available voters for grandfather, is that possibly true?
Yeah, I looked into that a little bit because they break this home rule into different categories. And one of the categories is 5,000 residents to, and apparently that is true.
But how many voters do we have that go to the polls?
We have a total of 8,000 residents. And I forget how many registered voters there are. 5,500 or something registered voters.
On the last voting day, they went there?
Now, the last one, I think they remember that percentage, it was low. It was March of 11, and I forget if it was like a 40% turnout. So say 30% of 5,000. Made some changes to the way that the agenda's done. In the past, with your updates, I've provided you details of the items that are on the agenda, because I think it's important that there's an explanation of why these different things are happening, and obviously for you, so that you can look at it and question and make decisions. But I think it's just as important for the people that take the time to show up to a meeting to be able to hear why it is that we're doing what we're doing, why we're recommending different things. And so we're going to try something different rather than go through each item by item. I've taken the time and will continue to take the time to do this, what we're calling a detail sheet. So any addendum or any agenda item that needs an explanation or that I think needs an explanation for why it's happening, there's a little explanation that's there. So that'll expedite the meeting a little bit. I'm not going to take the time to read all of those and talk through them like I have in the past unless there's questions that you have. And that'll be the same with the superintendent report too, unless there's presentations or other things that need to happen. So tonight we did have some addendum items. Todd will talk about in a few minutes, but on the back of that addendum item sheet, there's also a detailed sheet summary on a couple of the addendum items that I thought needed a little further clarification. So we'll see how that goes. The other thing that we're doing now is posting the agenda online with all of those details the week before. We send this out to the media and to you guys on Friday, the week before the meeting. And those will now be posted online on the board site where the minutes are kept for meetings. And then I'm emailing them out to our listserv and employees so that they can see exactly what's going on too. I think this is a good way to stay informed and see what's actually happening here and have facts about what's happening. So we'll see how that goes. But I do want to add one thing under the state report card. Since I did that last week, a couple things have changed. The State Board of Education met Monday and Tuesday of this week. And on Tuesday, they voted to release not the full state report card, but a version or information from it. So by September 30th, originally what I saw said it would be out September 30th on that date. Michael Sawyers, the acting superintendent, said it will be out by September 30th, so maybe earlier. They're going to release our name, IRN number, and county of residence. And this is all going to be on one spreadsheet for all districts. The performance for all grades and subjects on the Ohio Achievement Assessment and Ohio Graduation Test, our adequate yearly progress AYP status, and value-added growth status. But what will not be included until the auditor Dave Yost completes his investigation will be attendance rates, performance index, number of indicators met, and an overall rating. So we won't know whether we remain excellent or where we stand until later on. At first, he was estimating that he wanted to have it done early fall, that it became he wanted to have it done before elections. And apparently on Monday, when he spoke to the state board, he said that this is carrying on much longer than he thought, and that this may go into the beginning of the new year. So we'll have some information here by the end of the month, but it won't be anything like a complete report card. So that's all I have to add. Yeah, that's all.
Treasurer's report?
Few changes to tonight's agenda. Under the consent agenda, superintendent's business, item G needs to be modified to read masters plus 20. Item Q, policy number 6.03, is replaced with the one before you. I believe it's in front of you on the table. Then we need to add to the consent agenda under superintendent's business, items T through Z. That's all I have.
Okay. Diane, you have anything for me?
I just have the minutes from the August meeting that we had, and nothing new really went on. Our meeting only lasted like a half an hour, nothing goes on in the summer very too much. Next month, or well, next week when we have a meeting, I'm sure there'll be a lot more to report. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Legislative update, Ken?
Andy stole my thunder.
I'll start calling you.
Yeah, that, with the exception of, like he previously stated on our report card, and I don't expect to see it out before the 30th, but even at that, it's going to be less than what we need. But I'll be anxious to see the completed report. We've got a couple bills on that have priority down in Columbus. We're trying to fast track them through. One is the minimum school year, which we've previously talked about a number of times. It'd be House Bill 191 and 136. House Bill 136 would be a bill on parental choice and taxpayer savings scholarship program. One thing that caught my interest was they have finished up through the extended subcommittee on the primary and secondary education information on school fundings. If you're interested, you can look at studentlearningfirst.ohiohouse.gov. It's all lowercase, one word, studentlearningfirst.ohiohouse.gov. and they can give you the transcripts and such of extended subcommittee is been working on any ideas, so I'd be interested to see some good ideas coming out of school funding.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything under new business?
I had a thought, is that new business? I guess if
Sure.
I had a
If-
thought, that would be
If
new,
we've never heard
right?
it before, it's new.
In my travels last week, I was listening to the radio, and that's kind of, they were talking about some of the school funding issues in other districts, and it was a talk show, and one of the callers made a point that kind of hit with me, and I was going to Ashtabula, so I had 2.5 hours to sit and think about it. But when kids leave the school, when your last kid graduates or whatever, the residents of the community seem to have a disconnect with the school at that point. And I just started thinking about, we're seeing that here today. We've got, 8,000 here in Randolph, and I don't know how many exactly in Atwater. But, even with the different religions and the different races and the different ethnic backgrounds that we all have, that makes these two communities so great. But one thing that we all have in common is our school building and the kids that go there. And I was trying to think, there's a lot of elderly folks in these two communities that sometimes you'll see at a basketball game or a football game or whatever, but they never really see the inside and all the great things that go on inside the school. And then, things started going crazy. You'd have to know how my head works. But trying to come up with ideas on how we can gather these people back into the fold and get them into our school and see all the great things that are going on. One of the things that I thought about is maybe, and this is something, I'm just throwing it out to you guys and we can talk about this later, is adult education. I know that there's quite a few folks in our two communities that are unemployed right now. One of the things that seems to be common, I know some people that own trucking businesses, construction or whatever, is CDL requirements. One of the things that we could do maybe is find somebody who's qualified to teach a CDL. And there's an old saying that if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but if you teach him to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And maybe that is one way that we could get some of our people that seem to have a disconnect with this building and what goes on in here. Maybe that would be a way to get them back. I know in my own professional life and other people's lives that one of the things that they've had a hard time doing is writing an effective resume. Maybe we have a teacher or somebody here. Now, of course, none of this is any cost to the school. This would be something that, I know Maplewood does a lot of adult education. But, maybe we would have a teacher here that would be willing to come in like for 2 weeks, one night a week to help some folks out here to put together a good resume. Like I said, the CDL class. Maybe there's somebody here in the community that would like to teach, maybe do 4 or 5 weeks on masonry or carpentry or something. Maybe there's folks in our community that really don't have a trade or don't know anything, but if we could give them a start. And that would all be going on right here in the focal point of our community, the school. So it's just some ideas. Maybe there's somebody out there that wanted to do a Zumba class. Lord knows I could use the exercise. But that would be getting somebody who doesn't have kids here into the building and see all the great things that we have going on here. Matt could teach us how to raise honeybees. Don't talk while I'm talking. You didn't raise I'm just kidding. You imagine me doing Zumba. There you go. But something as It's, I should, hey, I'm your boss, remember that. But, I mean, Matt raises, if you don't know, Matt Montgomery raises honeybees, and he makes his own honey. Maybe there's people out there that would be interested in doing something like that. You know, I don't know, just anything to get people back into this building. Go
I
ahead.
had something, and I looked into it, like the older generation, I know people that are computer skills.
Yes.
That, to me, is number one. And you talk to a lot of people learning how to get on things. But it really gets me to, when I have a child here at Waterloo that knows more about this stupid computer than I do, really, you know, and they say these kids aren't smart, they're in that electronic industry, they're ahead of us right now. We never had that. We came through the push button typewriter. If you did take typing, if you played sports, then you looked upon, you know, jocks don't take typing.
Right.
So another thing, the honeybee, he did tell me something when he was sitting here. He told me why my tomatoes weren't red, and a lot of them. I said, why? Because my honeybees go from around and they take the pollen and pollinate my, I said, you got it. That's he's telling the truth, but just walking in here, I learned something from him.
Well, I'm just saying that, you know, maybe we can all come together and there, I mean, you know, I got 4 kids and I really don't have much of a social life, and I would die to have one night to where maybe I could sit around the pickle barrel and play checkers with somebody. You know, maybe we could get groups that want to come in and play euchre one night or something. You know, that's the one thing that we don't do anymore as a community or whatever. And I am a huge fan, and I'm sorry, of Andy Griffith's show. But, you know, that's the way I grew up. You know, all the guys sitting around Floyd's barbershop, you know, none of them getting haircuts. They're just sitting around talking to Floyd. But we don't communicate. We don't gather. We don't socialize anymore. And maybe that's something that we could focus on in getting these people that have this disconnect with our school to get them back in here and see all the great things that we're doing. I mean, between what the teachers are doing and, you know, our great principals and you know, the superintendent or whatever. I mean, you know, if we could get rid of that disconnect and then, you know, I don't know. It was just a funny thought maybe that we can help each other and just show that, you know, the school is not just for the kids, but it's for the rest of the community as well. So I'll shut up. I'm sorry.
That's a good idea. Diane thinks you should organize it since you're doing it socially.
Right now, I have 4 football games in 2 days to go to, so we're gonna have to wait till after football season. But I'll do whatever I can. I'm not for throwing out ideas and then running away from them. But I just, you know, if we could get rid of that disconnect, there's a lot of people that haven't been in this building. They haven't been in here since it was built. And they need to be here.
And those are great ideas, and there's a tremendous opportunity to do that with the amount of people in the community that are alums here. I know of different communities that have alumni bands where you have, you know, community bands. You know, community members come up and it's just like a band class, and they can give concerts and things of that nature. So there's a wealth of opportunity for, you know, things to bring in the community and get them reconnected with the school. And quite frankly, you know, they're the ones that support us, and they should take advantage of what we can do to give back to the community. So I think it's a great idea, and I think, you know, it's probably something we should look at in the future. Try to, you know, start small and at least be progressive. And that's another thing with the sports. You know, it's tough when we have to sit down and make decisions on funding and the financial aspects of the district, in thinking that in some way, shape, or form it might affect someone's ability to play in the sports or play in the activities participate in the activities because of financial reasons. And I know that last year at graduation, and I'm sitting there watching all the kids come up across the stage, and I said, this is one thing that can never be taken away from them. It's their classmates. And how many of us go to 10-year reunions, 20-year reunions? So, you know, those are things that you take with you the rest of your life. And, you know, I just think that the more people realize that this is a community resource, and we need to be more community active and invest in ourselves. And hopefully with the levy coming up, we'll be able to get out the facts and give people a reasonable option to invest in our community and our schools.
I know, as far as the alumni goes, the band director, Mr. Mendenhall, sent out an email. He's trying to find all the kids that graduated that were in band or you know, something like that. And honestly, it might sound crazy, being that I'm the age I am, but my high school never, ever, homecoming to me, I just thought it was time you went to the dance, you went to the football game, you wore a big whatever, you know.
Spend $600 on a dress.
I came to Waterloo, and you know what they do at homecoming? The people that graduated from here, that are alumni, come out and march and play with the band. Duh, that makes sense. That's what homecoming is. So until I came here, all my life, I never thought of it that way. So we do that, which is a great thing. They invite the past band members to come and march with the band at pregame, and it's really cool. So something that I learned from that, but it's nice they have their alumni do that. So they're trying to get a whole band of alumni going now too. So that's really nice, and I think all those ideas are good.
I mean, we got a gazebo right in the middle of town, it never gets used. You know, and I know that if we go back all those years that I've been alive, I mean, one of the things that, and it was even on one of my favorite Andy Griffith shows, is when they tried to get the old band back together and play, putting the gazebo together. I mean, I think it'd be cool on a summer Sunday night to go down there and listen to the band play.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'm showing my age, but I'm not wearing Depends yet, so don't worry. But I mean, I just think it would be great to do something like that. But it's gathering everybody
You do know the
back.
cameras on, right, and the
I don't
volumes.
care. I have a TV show. I say whatever I want to. Starting in October 7th, I'll be on WAKR Sunday night at 6 o'clock. I might as well get a little free publicity.
Might as well.
The Hunting and Fishing Show, by the way, with Steve Jones and Jack Kite.
Does anybody else have any other new business? I have a couple things. Speaking of getting people in the building, I was talking to someone about our Veterans Day celebration that we do here. I'm not really sure what the elementary school does exactly. I know don't they come here, Tracy, first, and then they go down there?
We used to, we're scheduled this year, I don't think we will be able to do it that way.
Okay, is high school still planning on doing?
As far as I know.
Okay.
Nick's
We'll still have
he's out at the
just-
game.
We'll be running at the same time, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. So anyway, it was something that I thought, whenever we have our leadership brunch, which I believe we still do, but it's here at the high school now, correct? We have someone who, usually it's a retired teacher, Andy Hertek spoke one time. I mean, we have someone that's been here in this community and they speak about what they've done and something that affected them. I thought that might be something that Nick could reach out to the ones that are coming, and maybe it'd be really interesting to hear a couple stories from the veterans, to just hear them talk.
Tracy has that.
You do that? Then I'm coming to yours this year, so. But,
I'll
yeah.
mention it to me.
But I mean, I just think that that's something that, if they're coming, and it's great that we're honoring them, but sure, me personally, I'd love to be able to hear their stories, so it's something. And another thing, a couple other things that I wanted to touch on were, we had something happen Tuesday night at the soccer game, so we need to just be aware, I've talked to Andy about this, but I asked him if we can have the squad here for soccer and even middle school. I know that Lee said last year they were here for the middle school football games because he just asked. So I guess if he just asked, we'll do that. So something like, I think we need to have that coverage because otherwise we have to figure out someone to come in here and grab the defibrillator. So he had a mild heart attack, but he's okay. So or a system, some kind of system in place. I didn't realize that we didn't. So Andy's working on that. And but if you need our help, just let us know.
It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have one of those. What is that, AED outfit in the press box?
Or in the concession stand. But they are very expensive. So if we have volunteers that will come to the game, that won't cost anything. So or also the basketball games, which
We have those located throughout our school here strategically. Sometimes you can get area businesses that will actually donate, to those if it's an idea that if we could get one out at the stadium, maybe we look around and see if we have any patrons that would be willing to contribute.
okay. And then another thing that's come up a couple times just in the last couple of weeks is I remember, and of course Brian isn't here, so it's all my memory. You guys were not here at the time, but we talked about not going further than an hour away for sporting events or any events. I think it's the year, Thora, you can correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the year we changed all the field trip stuff? We said that instead of going to the Cleveland Zoo, they go to the Akron Zoo, and we kind of pulled everything closer, and they weren't allowed to go over state line, and everything was to stay within an hour.
I can't remember.
It was about,
Now you're trusting my memory.
I know. It was about that. I thought it was in place.
But
I
there
thought it
was-
was in place, so that's why it's been a while.
Because
But-
third grade always used to go to Cleveland Zoo and stay till they closed at 5.
Right.
But then they did not want the overtime, with the
Right.
buses and that, and so then everything did have to be within, close enough and within the school day time was
Right.
also my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it was just something that's come up, and comments were made that if we're, that's an awful long way to drive. So, I don't know if it has to be board policy, or, because obviously if we decided it years ago and it's not written down anywhere, then no one knows, and the new superintendent, new athletic director, they had no idea what I was talking about when I said it. So, I don't know, maybe we can check and see if it should be something like that, or in with the field trip. There might be something written in with the field trip rules, I don't know. But that was something else that's come up. And then the other thing I have is we have our athletic banquet that we have every year that it's been discussed. We had a coaches meeting, the athletic director had, and Todd and Andy were there. We had athletic booster meetings. It's been brought up several times. It used to be, the comment was that it used to be a big deal, and now it's kind of just, people don't even show up for it. So we wanted to, they were, at the boosters meeting, they were talking like it was a board decision, but I don't believe that that's us, that's the athletic director's decision on how that's run, correct?
Yeah, I would say so.
Because they kind of said, well, why is the board doing this and why is the board doing that? So I wanted to know. That's what I mean. I didn't think it had anything to do with us, so I just wanted to.
Quite honestly, more lively outside of that conversation at that coaches meeting.
Yeah.
I never talked about sports banquets during the time of that. So.
Yeah, it was just something, the way they said it was, that's how we had it set up. I know it did change the year we closed the school on Sunday. That was a big deal. And that the board's decision there affected the banquet in that way, but other than that, I don't think it does. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that that's not us. That's, if he wants our input on what we hear from the output, I'm sure we can give it to him. Does anybody else have anything? Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as corrected?
Make the motion.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I want to, can I make a, because because the addendum didn't get posted today.
Sure.
In case anybody saw this stuff, I just want to briefly mention a couple of the items that are on the backside of it. So one of the items is to hire Michelle Hollandon as an aide. She's being recommended to fill the last recess aide position that was originally posted in June. We haven't had talking to anybody. Seth Bowman is resigning from after-school detention duty. He's now serving as middle school athletic director. I think the contract actually calls that the assistant athletic director. But we're not intending to fill that position. We're going to run detention 2 days after school each week instead of 4 like we've done in the past. But Schmidt continues to have supplement for detention duty. So we'll just run 2 days a week. And then this came about late this afternoon. Pamela Bauer, who's one of our aides for transportation with the special ed route, will be resigning effective September 24th. She got a new job, so we thank her for her service here and wish her the best with her new endeavor. We will need to fill that position, so that will get posted, provided we accept the resignation. We'll post that tomorrow and follow our negotiating agreement. So that's all on this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions or comments? Roll call?
Whittlesey?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay. Nothing else? Can I have a motion for adjournment? Second?
Everybody's shocked. I don't know what to say.
I know. We never get out of here this early.
Someone write the time down.
I know, we need to make a note of this. As long as there's no objection, the meeting is adjourned at, I have 7:46.
Time of death.
Shame.